Hi everyone, it's Lou Collins for CraftStash. Today I'd like to show you my top tips for heat embossing your sentiments absolutely perfectly. So I've die cut myself a sentiment, and at the moment I've actually left it in the cardstock. I'm going to remove the die, but I'm going to try my best to keep that die cut within the outer cardstock by using the release holes on the back to poke through. Now, with my sentiments still in the outer waste, I'm going to take my clear embossing ink and I'm going to stamp all over this. This way is much easier for ensuring a even coverage of the ink and making sure you're capturing every little detail of the die cut, because it's all held flat and in place. Otherwise you'd be using tweezers, you'd be pressing into the ink pad or just trying to capture all the little bits while they're moving around. This just keeps everything nice and still for you. Now that's inked, I've removed it from the waste, I've discarded that because we don't need that anymore, and I'm just going to place a little bit of low tack tape behind my sentiment. So just tacking that down in one small area, and if you want to, you can fold over the low tack tape to give yourself something that's not sticky to hold on to. Now onto some scrap paper. I'm going to lift up my sentiment using that sticky tape, so I'm not touching the inked sentiment at all, and I'm going to sprinkle over my embossing powder, whichever chosen colour that is. So I'm using gold here. And you will get a little bit of powder on your sticky tape, but what this means is that you can now hold your sentiment still while setting the powder without having any marks from something like tweezers in it. So there's a nice coverage all over the sentiment, and of course you can repeat this with the ink and the powder once you've set it for the first time if you wish. Now before I heat my sentiment, I'm going to place down a heat resistant mat. In this instance I'm going to be using my Creative Craft Products glass mat. This is perfect for heating on. I'm going to be holding the tape that I've got, the low tack tape, using my tweezers to keep my fingers away from the heat, and I'm going to ensure that the heat gun is warming up for about 10 seconds before I start trying to melt the powder. Otherwise that warm air that's coming out is just going to blow the powder around rather than melting it. While heating the powder, as soon as the powder has melted and gone glossy, you can move on to another part. It's a good idea as well to do the part where the tape is last, because your tape will shrivel up and pull away from your sentiment. Now if you were to overheat any of the powder, it will end up bubbling and it will usually go to a matte finish rather than a glossy finish. If you let your sentiment cool and you see there's still elements of powder that haven't melted, you can go back in and remelt those. So now everything's cooled down, I can carefully peel away the tape that I was using, and I've got a perfectly embossed sentiment, and I haven't got any marks from holding it with my tweezers, and I haven't got any missed spots. So if you enjoy top tips like this, don't forget of course to subscribe to the CraftStash YouTube channel, and we'd love it if you could check out this playlist here that is full of 3-minute card making hacks and tricks.